Hi, if you don't know me, you can call me Thea. I was a small art streamer on Twitch until I was targeted by a few bigger streamers who falsely accused me of spreading rumors and trying to control people. I have done a thorough investigation into the matter and have yielded what I believe to be the truth. The false narrative about me originated from Kinukure, or Ray, someone that I once saw as one of my closest friends. So, what exactly happened? On February 20th, 2024, Kinukure accused me of bullying her on stream and getting a bunch of people in my chat to rag on her. On March 24th, 2024, I reached out to Gina, asking her if she was distancing herself from me. She confirmed my worries, stating that my behavior was problematic from how inconsiderate I was. On March 30th, 2024, Penny verbalized the desire to cut contact with me because I was spreading rumors about her and had tried to control her. Leading up to September 11th on 2024, Hazmat Ian and some of his friends reached out to an administrator of a community about my harmful behavior. On September 11th, 2024, I got the opportunity to meet up with Hazmat Ian and his friends in order to try to better understand what my harmful behavior was. Hazmat Ian stated that, "Throughout the past year, you have been harassing random strangers in DMs about me purely with the purpose to be antagonizing and make them reluctant to interact with me." From a shallow understanding of the situation, it's quite clear I am the common denominator in all these situations. I have some problematic tendencies that have made multiple people upset about my behavior. I thought that I was a horrible person who was unknowingly doing things behind people's backs. Let's examine each instance more closely, though. In the first instance, Kinukure accuses me of getting my whole chat to rag on her and immediately brings into question our friendship. At the time, I was really confused but immediately apologized because regardless of what had happened, my intentions were never to harm her. After the stream ended, I decided to review the VOD in order to better understand my behavior and what had happened. I was met with a confusing reality. Kinukure's accusations were baseless. She verbalizes a plurality that I had gotten against her when there was none. When I brought this to her attention, she doubled down. When I explained to her what she was saying wasn't true, she stated that I was invalidating her experience. You can invalidate feelings and opinions, but you cannot invalidate events. I wasn't invalidating her. I was calling out her misinformation. In the next instance, when I tried to understand why Gina was keeping distance from me, it became obvious that Kinukure had misinformed her about what had happened. At the time, Kinukure and I were roommates. She had told me before, "You can use my bathroom anytime." When I decided to use her bathroom to pee, I went from the hallway directly to her restroom. The version she told Gina was that I went through her room and likely never mentioned that she had given me prior permission to use her restroom. With this version of events, Gina understandably believed I was very inconsiderate. In the third instance, Penny brings into question how I've handled personal information about her. She is unsure about how many other people I've told about her private information and asks how Kinukure knows. I explained to her that she had given me prior permission to tell Kinukure and that she had deleted the private channel where I had gotten permission. Regardless, Penny also mentioned how Kinukure had told her that the way I described our friendship was in a way where I had total control over her. When I asked to see the specifics, I was denied because Penny didn't want Kinukure to get in trouble. In the last instance, Hazmat Ian, similar to Penny, accuses me of harassing random people in DMs about something that Hazmat Ian believes to be personal beef between us. Hazmat Ian provided one piece of evidence during the meeting on September 11th, 2024, and this piece of evidence was in relation to a post I had made in a community I was a part of on February 20th, 2024. The issue was, it did not align with what his accusation was originally. This was not harassment. From my understanding, harassment would require a continual push to a person or group of people about something that they verbalized that they were not interested in. I got prior permission from the administrator from the group, and I had made a singular post, not multiple. And this post was made in a community that I cared for, not in random people's DMs. This led to the next question. Why did Hazmat Ian decide to reach out to me several months later? Where was the source of him getting these very specific accusations? Why was there such a long delay between my post in February 2024 and the meeting that happened in September 2024? What was the trigger that made him finally address the concerns? I don't have hard evidence because I don't have access to Hazmat Ian's or Kinukure's private conversations. Hazmat Ian and Ray were in close contact before, during and after the meeting, it's not a bold deduction to make to assume that Has was influenced by Ray in his decision making. With all of that being said, it becomes quite clear I'm not the only common denominator in all of this. Another factor is that Ray has had a hand in all four of these conflicts, and although admittedly I didn't have an admission from Has that Ray played a role in his decision making, the same way that Penny and Gina did, the similarities between Penny's accusations against me and the accusations that Has levied against me are eerily similar. The timing is also very, very convenient for Ray because that is a few months after she and I parted ways and stopped talking to each other. On top of that, it's very evident that the way Has handled the evidence and the way that he was protective of the person who was his source of information is very similar to how Penny did not want to get Ray into trouble. Ray has not only had a history of not providing evidence of her claims, but also a history of painting herself as the victim. If she's able to come off as the target, it puts people into a more protective state for her, and by doing so, fall into the trap of what she's doing. That explains why people like Has and Penny decided to protect her. When it comes to a bold accusation, such as the one that has made, there should be a clear paper trail that you should be able to provide as evidence. And as any of the people that were a part of the meeting can confirm, I was never provided with any specific example that matches Has's accusation. In an attempt to better understand and possibly uncover some messages that I might have forgotten, I dug deep into my own DMs, and it was clear that they told a very different story. The only thing that I could find that got close to Has's original accusation was this, and even then, it didn't properly match the description either. This wasn't recent. This wasn't harassment. This wasn't a random person. And I certainly made it clear that they were free to make their own opinions and that this was a simple warning to Has's past harmful behavior. And even if it did meet those qualifications, Has mentions a plurality, and this is a single person. Now, with a firmer understanding of what the actual reality of the situation is, I began digging into what the full reality of what Ray's behavior was, and this quickly unwinded into me discovering that I, like Has and Has's friends, and Penny and Gina, was complicit and even enabling her toxic behavior. The unfortunate reality is that I am not the first person that Ray has done this to. She actively looks for and creates scapegoats for her issues. When I first met her, she complained to me about someone named Elliot. During AX 2023, she continually complained about a mutual friend of mine and Gina's named Helena. Afterwards, she set her sights on James. And after that, it was me. And here's the kicker. The reason why I really do think Ray influenced Has is because she did the same thing to me. I was influenced by her and had actually made the call-out post because of something that she had told me that was upsetting. And it all starts with the incident itself where Has and I were no longer friends. Has believes it's personal beef. I believe that he was abusive. Regardless of what the reality is, I had told Ray at the time, which was back in February of 2023, about what had happened, because at the time I viewed Ray as a friend. She weaponized that information in two different ways. The first way was by understanding that Has was a person that I did not like, and it was easy to distract me or to rile me up in order to influence my decision making. And she did this through multiple different examples of saying that Has was problematic logistically, which was a real concern that I had at the time. But that's not the point. And the same thing goes for the other direction. I'm pretty sure Has was influenced by Ray even before Ray and I had a falling out, and that we no longer talked to each other. And that's the thing. Why I'm so confident is because People act in patterns, and this is a very consistent thing that she has done. I have outlined the specifics of Ray's toxic and manipulative pattern of behavior in great detail in the document. With that all being said, I think it's important to return to the original question, which was, why did I quit streaming? The short answer is I had come to a realization that if I had remained in the public eye, Ray would be relentless in motivation when it comes to trying to ruin my integrity. Simply put, as long as I was able to speak up about my problems, about mental health, about anything, I was a risk in exposing her toxic and manipulative behavior. And because her and I were no longer friends, she could not directly control me, so the next best thing was to control the environment that I was in. And that goes hand in hand with trying to ruin my integrity. If I had spoken up against Ray, and she is able to push this agenda, then it makes what I'm saying less credible. So the conclusion that I came to was that I had to disengage and allow Ray to find a new scapegoat, which bought me time to recover mentally and for me to make preparations and gather resources and evidence. Now, one last time, with all the information that we're able to gain, we see a grander picture of what's actually happening. And the formula of disaster is sadly very simple. Create false information about a person in order to dissuade people from communicating with them. And with that lack of communication, that distancing, the lack of confrontation, it creates a ability for Ray to say anything. She can create any misinformation and it won't matter. I am not completely innocent in all of this either, and she wants to use this shame and lack of humility or reluctance in showing humility to have people refuse to admit their role in this. And it is only through recognizing that I played a role and that I was also someone that unfortunately was harmful to other people and helping Ray in pushing whatever she wanted in terms of the narrative, was I able to come to the conclusion for my situation. I had the benefit of understanding both sides of the equation of being targeted and helping Ray target. And it is through this awareness and this humility that I am able to come to terms of what happened and be able to address not only things that have happened to me, but also to address as to why I am enabling behavior like this in others. And it is only through this understanding am I able to correctly adjust my understanding of how other people are and how I am in order to prevent this from happening ever again. I've played a role in 4 of these instances, and I take responsibility for that. I recognize that what I did was harmful, and especially with Helena. With Elliot and James, I wasn't friends with them. I didn't really know them that well. But with Helena, I was friends with her. And as soon as I recognized what the pattern of what was going on was, this is back in March of 2024, I messaged her, wanted to have a call with her immediately to talk about what happened and to apologize to her. I want the takeaway not to be that we need to be free from mistakes or from blame or from responsibility. I really want the takeaway to be recognizing when we make mistakes, acknowledging them, and learning from them. Accountability is what makes or breaks relationships and can only help improve relationships with people who are emotionally mature. When under confrontation of toxic behavior, people who don't want to address their concerns will do things like minimize, dismiss, ignore, or distort. People are also only responsible for the things that they do, and not for the things that are accused of them. People who make accusations or claims need to be ready to provide evidence of what they are saying. I want to make it very clear. I have absolutely no interest in trying to get revenge against Ray or Haz or whoever. I'm holistically not interested in trying to deal some kind of punishment to them. However, what I do want is to be able to speak up about my experience, which is my right. Thanks for listening.